continue our coverage of the United States election. Now we move into looking at President Joe Biden getting ready to call on the Democratic Party to rally behind Kamala Harris as the country's next leader. He will address delegates at the Democratic National Convention being held in Chicago. Former Presidents Obama and Bill Clinton will also speak at the event this week as the push towards November's election gains momentum. But outside the event center, thousands of protesters are gathered to denounce the Democrats' support for Israel's war on Gaza and say they wouldn't vote for people who fund genocide. Arise News international correspondent Faith Orr now joins me now live from Chicago. Faith, good to see you. What's the atmosphere like at the convention center? How does the energy compare to previous conventions?
Well, I have to tell you, things at the convention centre itself are just getting underway, the main programming just getting underway. It's outside the convention centre. I don't know if you can hear the helicopter above me. You can probably see the hundreds of police and protesters just behind me there. We've had to move away from the main part of this march so that we can speak to you, because as I'm sure you can understand, the network is very unreliable with so many thousands of people around. Things have been peaceful, but there are thousands and thousands of people out protesting the Democrats' support for Israel's war on Gaza. They are calling for an end to the genocide, for an end to money being sent and for US weapons being sent to support Israel's war. They say that that money would be much better spent here in the United States. They want it to fund homelessness, to prevent homelessness, to fund schooling, to help people who are struggling to feed themselves, and the 2/3 of Americans who at the moment are living paycheck to paycheck. So they say that the money, the millions, the hundreds of millions that's being sent to support Israel should be spent here in the United States. They say they will not vote for a candidate who is supporting genocide. Many of them here saying that they will vote for a third-party candidate, and that this is a warning shot to the two main parties.
And Faith, who are the key speakers scheduled for today, and what themes are they expected to address?
So the main speaker from today, of course, President Joe Biden, he has arrived in Chicago. He will be opening as the main speaker of the convention. He will speak not just about why Kamala Harris should, of course, be the next president, but the achievements of the administration over the past several years. Expected to be somewhat of a sort of valedictorian speech that he is going to give to the convention. So we expect to hear from him. He will, ceremoniously pass the baton to Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, her running mate. We will then hear from Hillary Clinton, and we will then hear from Dr. Jill Biden. So I am told that the march is going to come down this way, so you're going to see the camera shift with us. We are just going to have to shift to the side in 1 second. So while you're asking me the next question, don't be alarmed, we're just going to move to the side a little.
Faith, before you move to the side, are there signs of party division or disagreement among different factions?
Okay, so there's lots of disagreements about how things should be done here. We know that the economy is a huge issue here. We know that as I mentioned, people say they're struggling for their grocery bills. I was speaking to a taxi driver on the way in from O'Hare to Chicago yesterday, and he was telling me that they are spending hundreds of dollars more than they previously were. There's also just general concern about the amount that's spent in education, for instance. So lots of big concerns here, but both sides, Donald Trump isn't going to let Kamala Harris steal the limelight this week. He is still making his point, he is still campaigning, so both sides still trying to get their issues to the front.
Faith, I can see the crowd there, and perhaps help us, how are local Chicago residents reacting to hosting the convention?
Well, that's an interesting question, actually, because one of the things that I've heard from people here is that they say that the streets have been cleaned up, that there's been flowers planted, that trees have been cut back, And they're saying that actually the city can look after the streets when they want to, but they're actually quite annoyed that these things have been cleaned up because the political bigwigs have come to town. So we are seeing that sort of level of, oh well, you can look after things, but you choose not to just for us, and it's only happening because of that. I also spoke to some people last night who were just annoyed that the traffic was disrupted, that they couldn't get where they needed to be. But this is Chicago has actually hosted the convention several times over the years, but it's not something that happens every year. There is something that's been well prepared for. As we've seen, hundreds of police on the street to maintain the sort of security of the residents. So I haven't had any complaints in that department, and we are seeing, everything that we've seen so far is peaceful, it's well organised. But yeah, residents, of course, they've been inconvenienced, and they are going to complain about that.
Well, at least fifth Nigerians now know that it's not peculiar to Nigerians to put the paints there when the president or any big politician visits. But before I let you go, are there any surprise appearances or unexpected developments we should know about? Well, Faith, I hope I haven't lost you there.
I think we lost connection there for a little second.
So my question,
I'm not quite sure what that final question was, but I will just tell you that the city really, there's thousands of people here for getting underway. Huge political names in town for this. We're going to see Bill Clinton here, we're going to see Barack Obama here, Michelle Obama here as well. Of course, Chicago, a city that loves the Obamas. So this city for the next 4 days is going to be all about the Democratic National Convention. We will be bringing you as much information from the convention as we possibly can until Thursday night, when Kamala Harris gives her acceptance speech. She officially accepts the nomination for the Democratic Party to become the next president of the United States, and we will keep you updated throughout the event.
Arise international correspondent live there in Chicago, giving you updates, and of course you can play catch up with her on arise.tv. That's our website.